Hmm.
pegunungan. Kira-kira 1,5 jam dari Semarang, Bapak, ibu
Oh
kota
ya sama.
Jawa Tengah.
Iya,
Betul.
iya. Iya.
Iya.
Eh,
Pernahkah, Pak, ke Salatiga?
saya enggak pernah, cuma anak saya kemarin ke Semarang sama ibunya
Oh,
lomba sepatu roda.
oh, wah, ini ya rajin olahraga ya.
Ya, yang paling kecil, Bu. Paling kecil rajin
Oh, so
olahraga. Dia
sweet.
senang sepatu roda di Semarang kemarin ngadakan tingkat internasional. Di
Oh,
India kan di Semarang kan lapangannya bagus.
betul,
Dia ikut ke
betul.
sana.
Iya,
Ya, dari pengalaman lah gitu.
betul.
Mm-mm.
Sambil healing ya, Pak.
Healing, betul, betul, betul. Healing, healing. Ya. Ibu berapa kali ke Lombok?
Saya itu baru 1 kali, Bapak, ke
Hmm.
Lombok. Waktu itu ada raker dan
Mm-mm.
kami keliling kota Lombok yang
Oke.
apa namanya?
Ada,
Mungkin pada waktu itu Lombok sedang berkembang ya.
iya, iya,
Iya,
iya. Nah,
sedang ada pembangunan
oke.
UKM UKM
UKMG.
gitu. Inggih.
Seperti di daerah Tenun, Sukerare itu kan.
Iya,
Ya,
betul.
UKM UKM yang di ini di Sukerare.
Iya,
Kemudian ke selatan itu ada rumah
iya
adat
betul.
Sade gitu.
Iya,
Heeh.
betul.
Kita ya Lombok
Makin
itu
bertumbuh
industri
ya.
industri yang besar kayak pabrik nggak ada, yang ada
Tenun
industri
ya, Pak.
pariwisata
Tenun
nggih.
Lombok ya, yang
Iya,
terkenal ya, Pak.
iya, industri pariwisatanya
Pariwisatanya ya.
nggih, nggih. Itu
Nanti
nggih.
kita bisa ini ya, apa join riset.
Nah, mari Bu, saya senang sekali Bu. Nah,
Pariwisata.
kira-kira kalau kita ambil pariwisata, Ibu di ekonominya ya Bu, atau apa
Iya, saya
di
di
bidang?
ekonominya
Oh
kemarin
mantap.
diajak Prof.
Hmm,
Lili untuk penelitian
hmm,
desa wisata. Mungkin nanti
hmm.
bisa di spektrumnya bisa diperluas di Lombok.
Bisa Bu. Kami kemarin tapi bukan pengabdian ya, karena kami
Oh,
sebagai praktisi pemandu wisata,
iya,
kami ada nanti coba Ibu searching di Google atau di YouTube namanya
iya.
desa apa namanya Taandung-Andung ya.
Desa Taandung-Andung ya,
Hmm.
Prof.
Mhm.
Desa
Andung-andung ya.
Taandung-Andung.
Itu sebenarnya adanya di Kopang itu. Kopang.
Oh,
Itu kami yang
Kopang.
bentuk, kami yang
Hmm,
bentuk
mm-mm.
bersama mahasiswa. Tapi
Iya.
mungkin mungkin untuk berikutnya ya kita
Betul, betul.
kita anukan Ibu sentuh eh, ekonomi kreatifnya, saya
Iya.
sentuh ke bagian eh, pelayanan lokal guide-nya. Nah,
Oh, siap, siap.
heeh. Kita coba
Senang
gimana?
saya
Iya,
dapat partner.
iya Bu.
Iya,
Heeh. Nah, di sana mungkin ada beberapa ekonomi kreatifnya yang perlu sentuhan. Ya, mungkin seperti tadi yang
betul.
saya dengar kayak profesor tadi itu mendaftarkan
Iya,
secara legal
betul.
trade-nya gitu.
Iya,
Nah, kita proses marketingnya atau apa gitu kan itu
gitu. Iya,
ekonomi yang punya
betul.
eh, ranah. Kalau kami hanya
Iya.
mentraining lokal guide-nya bagaimana untuk handling atau escorting tamu-tamu yang datang ke sana gitu. Untuk
Oh, Mekaten,
oke,
Inje.
coba nanti kita sama-sama ya. Eh,
Iya, Bapak. Marketing guide-nya udah di Bapak, kita kayak ekonomi kreatif, nggih.
ya, kita ini
Nanti minta nomornya Bapak ya. Nanti kita
baik,
bisa bersumria.
baik, baik, baik untuk anunya ke depannya ini.
Iya,
Mudah-mudahan nanti ini berjalan dengan bagus. Mungkin
iya.
ke depannya sambilan antara universitas-universitas juga kita adakan
Betul, betul.
LPPM-nya sini dengan LPPM-nya Ibu di sana kan gitu.
Betul, betul.
Makanya, ya.
Jadinya ada apa namanya kolaborasi.
Kolaborasi nggih. Mhm.
Inje.
Iya. Ini saya kolaborasi di pengabdian ini dengan UHAMKA
Dengan
Jakarta.
oh Hamka Jakarta.
Iya.
Iya, ya.
Kebetulan ada teman kuliah dulu waktu di UNJ,
Iya.
itu saya coba kolaborasi. Oh siap katanya, makanya berdua
Nambah jejaring ya,
ya
Pak.
jadi tambah tambah teman tambah ilmu.
Betul, betul sekali. Nanti saya juga belajar dari Bapak.
Kita sama-sama. Bu. Oke.
Iya.
Jadi kita ini berapa orang hari ini ya? Satu, dua, tiga, empat, lima, enam, tujuh. Tujuh orang kayaknya ini ya.
7 orang ya Pak ya.
Hmm.
Oke.
Enam, enam, tujuh. Ya betul ini. Sudah semuanya. Kita tinggal nunggu apa ini? Perintah dulu atau gimana? Oh, oh, Universitas ini. Sudah.
Silahkan bisa dimulai, Bapak.
Eh, saya memulai nih, Bu. Siapa? Hostnya? Ya, siap, siap. Cek, betul. Hmm, hmm, hmm.
Selamat pagi, Ibu Ivon. Sehat selalu. Pagi, Pak Haryanto. Salam kenal.
Selamat siang Ibu, Bapak. Salam kenal
Iya,
juga.
sebelum
Salam
siang.
kenal. Siang Pak Rianto.
Selamat siang Pak Dr. Jumaidi. Kita menunggu semuanya lengkap atau bagaimana Pak Dr. Jumaidilnya?
Eh, ini kita 7 orang, 14.30. Ini kita 7 orang ya Pak ya?
Saya lihat ada 6, 7 dengan Bapak berarti.
Ya 7.
Oh, ada 7 orang.
Ya,
Oh, ini ada Mbak Feby, ada 6 orang.
Jadi
ini
kayaknya kita kita bisa mulai saja Pak Rianto ya.
baik itu ada urutannya 1 sampai 6 kalau nggak salah. Mungkin punten mungkin Bapak bisa lihat dulu apakah seluruh plenary speakersnya sudah masuk atau belum ya.
Ini satu.
Kalau nggak mungkin bisa di-invite dari main grupnya. Kebetulan ini saya pertama kali juga baru bergabung.
Satu, dua, tiga, empat, lima, enam, tujuh. Oke. Sepertinya baiknya kita mulai saja Bapak Ibu ya. Oke.
Oke, Pak.
Oke.
Ya, siapa?
Dokter Heni Sirine.
Injil
Jadi,
Bapak, kamu loh, Pak.
oke, mungkin bisa waktu kita Bu hanya kita partisi ya 15 menit tapi 10 menit ya. Kalau bisa dipercepat ya 5 menit untuk bertanya nanti. Kalaupun ada yang bertanya. Silakan Ibu Kirana, Bu Dokter Heni, kita bisa.
Baik, Bapak. Terima
Baik.
kasih
Hmm.
untuk waktu yang diberikan. Saya izin share ya, Bapak Ibu,
Ya.
terkait dengan penelitian kami. Baik. Apakah sudah bisa dilihat, Bapak Ibu?
Oke, sudah dengan jelas sekali.
Sudah, ya. Terima kasih untuk Bapak Jumadil as a moderator and colleagues. Thank you for the opportunity given to us. Good afternoon, everyone. I will
Good
present
afternoon. Pak.
the result of our research on title Quality Reimagine Leveraging Intellectual Capital for Continuous Improvement. My name is Hani Sirina, and the two research partner are Ivo Nongki Anita Peka, beliau ada di sini, and Rian Widianingrum. We are from Satya Wacana Christian University. Selanjutnya, setting the stage. This research is based on a phenomenon which states that quality improvement program or KIP as the lifeblood of modern enterprise. The part that influences it is intellectual capital. Intellectual capital is the keystone of transcendent KIP. The underlying theory is knowledge-based view. Research gap in this study is the absence of empirical supervision of the nuanced role of intellectual capital in QIP. Then there is a limited cessation of the dynamic interaction of passive and explicit knowledge in quality improvement. This study also seeks to uncover the layered influence of intellectual capital and force an actionable paradigm for sustainable quality evolution. Theoretical edifice, this study uses knowledge-based view as the basic theory. This is the ultimate compass for navigating intellectual world. The four pillars of intellectual splendors are as follows. Number one, domain knowledge is expertise as its needs. Number two, formal knowledge is the scaffold of structure insight. Number three, management experience is wisdom in strategic orchestration. Number four, intrinsic motivation and creativity is the spark of innovation. As for strategic epiphany is how to convert knowledge into actionable superiority. The research framework is as follows. The first hypothesis is that domain knowledge affect the quality improvement program. The second hypothesis is that formal knowledge affect the quality improvement program. The third hypothesis is that management experience affect the quality improvement program. And the last hypothesis is that intrinsic motivation and creativity affect the quality improvement program. The methodological canvas, the research design used a quantitative approach. The sample of the study was 2,000 experienced business leaders from Central Java with stratified random sampling in Boyolali, Semarang, Solo, Salatiga. Data collection through a carefully designed questionnaire, and we use smart PLS to uncover complex relationships. This is a revelation in findings, and all the variables we use affect the QIP except formal knowledge variable because the p-value is more than 0.05. So we will discussion about this. Domain knowledge demonstrate a statistically significant positive impact on QIP, underscoring its importance in problem identification and effective implementation. About formal knowledge, so minimal direct influence, highlighting the need for practical application rather than theoretical reliance. About management experience, prove its value as a strategic enabler, ensuring stability and leadership in QIP. The last, intrinsic motivation as a critical driver of innovation and engagement, fostering creative and sustained improvement. This scope of deep domain knowledge emerges as cornerstone of precision and problem solving in KIP. About formal knowledge paradox, its limited impact call for better integration with hands-on practices. About management experience, acts as the stabilizing force guide teams through complex decision-making process. Sedangkan intrinsic creativity highlight as the essence of groundbreaking quality innovation. Implication of the study uh, consists of theoretical and practical. Theoretical trial, KBV expert with insight on intellectual diversity. Sedangkan practical opsi invest deeply in cultivating tacit and experiential knowledge. Keterbatasan ataupun cakrawala dalam penelitian ini yaitu reflection on scope, regional focus as both a lens and a limitation, the riches and constraint of quantitative methods, charting new course, extend inquiry to diverse domain and demographics, integrated 5-feet qualitative narrative for richer interpretation, adding mixed method research with another data source like observation, FGD, and more detailed company report. Culmination, tacit wisdom, and intrinsic creativity as twin pillars of enduring KIP success. A call to rethink formal education role within practical domains. So, emboldening organization to treasure intellectual diversity, foster experiential depth, and ignite the spark of perpetual quality. Thank you.
Okay, thank
Terima
you.
kasih, Bapak.
Okay, very nice explanation about IEP. Okay, maybe any other questions is gonna be addressing to Ibu Hani Sirina?
Terima
Some
kasih.
questions. It's a very nice. It's a very good title, I think. Okay. Ibu Ivona, maybe some question.
Ibu Ivon itu
That's
satu
yours.
dengan saya,
Okay.
partner research.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Kami
Iya.
satu tim, Pak.
Okay, satu
Satu
tim.
tim
That's
dengan
good.
kami,
Ibu Ivona.
Bapak.
Parianto.
It was a very nice presentations and
Yeah.
Thank you,
Very good.
Sir
I think it's very
Haryanto.
good research findings Ibu Hani and Ibu Ivans. I'm not sure whether it's a right questions, but I'm just right spot out the second hypothesis probably whereby the formal education does not influence
Yes.
the dependent variable, right? I mean,
Mhm.
because all along, I think all of us here are mostly lecturers, and then on the day-to-day basis, basically we are involved in
Okay.
formal education type of processes, and if the finding says that formal knowledge actually does not
Yes.
really have an impact,
Yes.
what will be the probably further suggestion lah from your research? Yeah, if you may, help me leverage that kind of findings. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Haryanto.
Okay, Deta Haryanto. Very nice. Okay.
That's right.
Maybe any others?
Sperma knowledge paradox is not significant towards QIP, quality improvement programs, because its limit impact call for better integration with hands-on practices. Effective QIP require contextual adaptation of theoretical knowledge, bridging academic training with real-world application amplifies success. So for practitioner, the study suggests prioritizing practical experience, fostering intrinsic motivation and creativity, and effectively integrating formal knowledge with practical application to enhance QIP success. Mungkin seperti itu. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Bu. Thank you.
Terima kasih, Prof. Haryanto.
Not yet, Prof, Bu.
Candidate,
Doa Bapak,
associate,
doa.
associate. Okay. Okay, Maya, I want to make some question for Ibu. This is
Yes.
what kind of intrinsic, what to say, intrinsic effect that you say the
Yes.
KEP. Can you mention a little bit?
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah. Mhm.
KIP, this is a value, yeah, for this study because you know we see the phenomena which states that quality improvement program as the lifeblood of modern enterprise. And the part that influence it is intellectual capital. So intellectual capital is the keystone of transcendent QIP. With the apa knowledge based view, we this research challenge traditional assumption about the primary of formal knowledge in quality improvement, offering a more complex understanding of how different form of knowledge contribute to organizational performance. The insight provide valuable for both theoretical advance and practical application in the field of quality management. Mungkin seperti itu,
That's
Bapak.
that's the way. Yeah, that's the way. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, that's nice. Okay. Any other questions? Maybe some suggestion from Pak Haryanto, gengs?
No, Pak, nothing else from me. I'm good.
Nothing.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Pak
Thank you very
Haryanto.
much.
Maybe ada wait, Ibu Hani, Eko, Mas Eko is here?
Ya,
Okay,
Bapak.
any question, Mas Eko? Oh, Ibu.
Halo, Mas
Okay.
Eko.
Ya,
Okay.
belum ada no question
Okay.
Profesor Robi.
Okay.
Ya, belum ada.
Okay. Terima kasih, Mas Eko.
Salam
Terima
kenal,
kasih.
Pak Eko.
Salam kenal, Mas Eko. Banyak teman. See, we have a lot of friend here.
Iya,
Okay,
Bu Ila,
thank you,
salam
Ibu
kenal.
Henny. It was a
Thank
very
you very
nice,
much,
a very nice
Prof.
signal.
Jumadil.
And then, okay, and then
Nice
we're
to meet
gonna
you
move.
guys.
Okay, thank you very much, yeah. Okay, maybe Pak Eko, are you ready? Yeah. Okay, okay, Pak Eko, Pak. Okay, wait. Okay, now maybe Pak Haryanto. Yeah. Okay, Pak Haryanto, because another friend maybe still preparations or.
I think in the timetable, I believe probably it should be Pak Dr. Jumaidil, is you, or
Mhm.
if I'm seeing the timetable PDF file shared by the admin
Mhm.
yesterday.
Oh yes, okay. Okay, thank you, Pak Eko. Okay. Thank you, Pak. Okay, now I try to find out my title. Okay. Mhm. Okay. Okay. Wait, hang on. I have a problem with share. Okay. Okay, can you see? Yes, okay.
Kunci pintu.
Yes, okay.
Apa?
Online seminar. Thank you, Bu. Yes, yes, okay. Oke, Pak Eko, bisa melihat PPT saya?
Bisa, Pak.
Oke, thank you. Oke, hang on. Okay, wait a moment. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for lovely question this afternoon. So my title is Improving Tour Guide Speaking Proficiency, Employing the Indonesian National Competency Standard SKKNI. Yeah, as we know that the standard SKKNI, Standard Kompetensi Nasional of Indonesian. Okay, I myself, Jumadil from Universitas Mandalika, and Siswana is from Universitas Muhammadiyah, Professor Dr. Hamka in Jakarta. Yeah, we with Dr. Siswana. Okay, okay, as we know, tour guide, yeah, it's work at tourism industry in Lombok. There, what you say, as a destination of a tourism. So why I take this title? Because in Lombok is a tourism destination. Okay, we concentrate to a tour guide. Tour guide is defined as a person who guides a group in individual around the buildings, state and landscape of a city or region, and who interpret in the language of the visitor choice, the cultures, nature, heritage, and environment. It is it's adapted from European Federation of Tour Guide Association in 1998. Okay. Black and Whalers say that point out that tour guide or the tourist guide, yeah, obtain information, understand local norms or traditional, protect local culture, heritage, values, and there's require communication competence. Okay, from the two theory, we can conclude that I can conclude the tour guide is the person who provide assistant information and commentary the people who are visiting the particular location or tourist attraction. To escort in escorting the tourists. Okay. Okay, the standard competency, because we are what you say, we talk about the SKKNI. The standard competency for the speaking often refer to the skill needed to communicate effectively in both formal and in informal context. Okay, these competencies can be broken into the several case area like pronunciations, fluency, grammar, vocabulary, coherence, and organization. Okay. For the tour guide, yes, strong speaking proficiency has direct impact on the success of the tourism business. Satisfied tourism are more likely to leave a positive reviews, recommended the tour to other and return the future trip, yeah. Because if the tour guide is very good in speaking, like it has competence in speaking, so that mean the others tourists going to come because she's recommended by the visitors, yeah. Okay, SKKNI. Okay, SKKNI Indonesia Competence Standards known as SKKNI, Standar Kompetensi Kerja Nasional, is a set of guidelines that define the competency and skill required for various occupation and sector in Indonesia. The SKKNI frame itself plays a crucial role in professionalizing the tourist and hospitality workforce in Indonesia, ensuring quality service, consistency, and the ability to compete in the global market. Okay. The concept of SKKNI for tour guide, speaking is a very important, or speaking is crucial for the tour guides, clear and communications, engaging presentation, and building trust and rapport with tourists. Okay, the method. Assessment to goal setting, identify weakness. First, we identify the weakness, start by reflecting on their speaking skill. Are they struggling with the clarity, confidence, fluency, or vocabulary? Understanding where they need improvement will help guide the learning. The community service team collaborated with me with DPD HPI NTB, and result of the coordination implementation of this community service activity were carried out in Mataram, the city of on the ground, that it will make it easier for them to learning the process. Okay, implementation, the text, yeah. First, we're giving free test the question, and second, outlining the various categories of linguistic operation, to describing the uses and purpose of language. And okay, we distributing survey measure effective or of the activities and independent training. Okay, the participant, that's the participant this community service would have in November 2004. There was attended by 10 participants. All of them are members of Tour Guide Association in Mataram, Lombok. Yeah. Okay, strategies for improving speaking proficiency. Practically approach to improving speaking skills for tour guide, language training. In language training, yeah, foundation and pronunciations. After that, vocabulary expansion and expression. And then advanced speaking, public speaking exercise, fluency and natural speech pattern, role playing and stimulation, refining skill and advanced communication. Okay, that is the strategies for improving speaking proficiently. Okay, the result of we give them like a short training or short course, but 100% of participants, tourist guide improve their English speaking competence based on the standard competency. Material is accompanying tourists, and 100% competency in guiding technique according to with existing procedure, such as a planning check, explaining how to check in and check out, how to handle in the field, and how to handle problem with a good and correct language. Okay, that is the result. Yeah. Okay, for tour guide, using SKKNE would be crucial because it ensures that all tour guides have certain level of knowledge and skill, maintaining consistency in the quality of the tourist overall. Quality service as well. By adhering to SKKNE, tour guide can provide accurate and judging information, helping tourists have a more meaningful experience. Okay, professionalism of tour guide, which can improve their reputation and increase trust from both tourists and employees. Compliance. For tour guide working in Indonesia, following SKKN can help them comply with national regulation and standards set by the government, ensuring they stay qualified and legally recognized in the industry. Okay, I think that thank you very much. And then so many other questions. Thank you.
Saya, Prof.
Dokter. Okay, no problem. Okay.
Ya,
Ya,
permisi ya,
Ibu.
Prof.
Listening.
Prof mengatakan strong speaking proficiency has a direct impact of the success of the tourism business. Can you explain more about that?
Okay, strong speaking, because okay,
Thank you.
as we know, the tour guide itself is what to say, they convey the information, they convey the something about the culture, yeah, about the something happened during the trip. Okay, can we imagine if they have no good in speaking, for example, because as a tour guide, they have to fluency, they have to clearly in pronunciation. So to what to say, if they're not good in speaking, that something happened, for example, a misunderstanding. So that's why government that gave the SKKNE, in SKNE, it has regulations. Yeah. to be a fluent in English speaking guide, yeah, you have to what to say learns like pronunciations, like how to what to say. Mm, well, we have to learn much, yeah, learn much about it. Okay, because we need a tour guide that first leader speaking. After that is general knowledge, yeah. But how come if it we have a very good in general knowledge, for example, but our speaking is not quite well, is not quite good, that's gonna be big a problem. Okay, that is I think that is Ibu Dr. Hani Serene about the guiding.
Thank you,
Yeah.
bro.
Okay.
So KKNI express about it, yeah.
Yeah, the SKKNA express about this is not only speaking in it, but about the what to say, the way to do when we escorting the guests in on the trip, for example. Yeah,
Yes.
the way, yeah, like what we have to do firstly. Yeah, when first time you meet a guest and what you should do when check out and the other thing is related to what to say service. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Tercerahkan.
I need some addition from Pak Haryanto. This is oh Haryanto.
Very good presentation, Prof. Jumadil.
Oh, thank you, Pak Haryanto. Yeah, because this is a pengabdian ya. Then maybe others. Okay. Okay, we have
I think
is
you
there
have a question in
time?
the chat box, Prof.
There is no.
Yeah, there is from Ibu Tasha or Prof. Tasha probably.
Professor. Yeah.
Are you able to see the chat box? Otherwise, then I can read it for you.
Yeah, actually.
So I think Ibu Tasha is asking, I will speak in bahasa.
Yes.
I think she is asking whether bahasa Indonesia, izin bertanya dalam bahasa Indonesia, Pak, dalam pengabdian Bapak Jumadil,
Okay.
apakah SKKNI membantu pemandu wisata meningkatkan kemampuan dalam berbicara bahasa asing ya, Pak? Terima kasih. No, actually, Bu Tasha can speak out. Obviously.
Okay. Ibu Asa ya. Uh, yeah. Yeah, of course, it help Ibu Asa may speak in bahasa as well to make what to say clearly. Karena standar kompetensi SKKNI untuk pemandu wisata itu sudah diatur di sana. Apa-apa, misalnya standar speaking kita ketika handling tour, ya, standar speaking kita ketika di lapangan dalam di check in dan check out. Nah, itu standarnya. Berarti kalau kita memakai standar itu, artinya is benefit jadi tour guide itu eh, karena di guide itu ada jenjang yang ada guide pemula, ada yang madya. Ya, yang standar SKKN ini diutamakan pada guide yang madya, ya, yang lebih profesional. Nah, mereka-mereka itu ditrain ya dengan diberikan short course dengan standar SKKNI. Jadinya kalau sudah memakai standar SKKNI itu tour guide-nya sudah professionals ya. Ini kita berbicara masalah tour guide yang berbahasa Inggris. Dan SKKNI itu juga bisa dipakai untuk bahasa yang lainnya. Bahasa Jerman misalnya, ya, bahasa Italia misalnya, seperti itu. Karena sudah standar yang dibentuk oleh pemerintah gitu. Oke, demikian Ibu Tasa. Demikian.
Yes, he said yes. Thank you, Prof. In
Thank you,
case
Prof.
you didn't
Haryanto.
chat box.
Mm-mm. Okay. If there is no question, if there is no more question, I think we're gonna go to Bapak Dr. Haryanto, Assistant Prof, yeah, from Bina Insani. That's your turn now, right? You're turning.
Sorry, Prof. Your voice breaking up.
Huh? That's your turning now.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Okay. Okay. The floor is yours.
Mungkin
Associate
Bapak
Prof.
bisa
Haryanto.
stop share dulu, Bapak.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Prof.
yeah, yeah.
Share dulu.
Okay, okay, okay,
Ya.
okay. Yes.
Okay. I got 10 minutes or 15 minutes probably. Let me share.
Yes, okay. It's no problem.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, so clearly.
Okay. Thank you. Very good afternoon, everyone. My name is Haryanto. I'm an accounting lecturer actually at Bina Insani University. It's a very honor actually to be part of this program because in fact it is my first time joining this international community service. And yeah, please allow me to share my materials about the import clearance cost in Indonesia. Maybe for many of you, or maybe at least some of you, is considered to be something that very unusual from the core discipline of knowledge that studies that you have, maybe Bapak Ibu. So the background of this topic is basically, I believe, the importance of understanding the import clearance is something that is important because again, I thought the audience of this program will also be probably practitioners, but maybe most of the participants are actually academics. So anyway, just to continue, in the current era, definitely there is no country or no single country in more particular that can do whatever they want to do themselves individually or independently, or we call it maybe in an economic term as a closed economy, because every country will need to have interaction with others, right, to make sure that they will be able to grow together. So again, understanding the import clearance process, consequences, I think especially in facilitating the international trade is very important for us to understand. If we are talking about the import clearance procedure in Indonesia in particular, there will be at least 4 key stakeholders, namely custom itself, freight forwarders, importer and exporters, and also other agencies. Why I put customs as the first line in this slide? Because as we are all aware of, custom is actually the authority in Indonesia or even in any part of the world, having the full authority to decide whether any import product can be released from the port or airport. So they got that kind of authority, or they are given that kind of authority by respective government in the world. That's actually the rule of thumbs. Second stakeholder is actually freight forwarders, right? This company is actually the one facilitating the communications or bridging the communication among all other parties involved in the clearance process, from the customs, importer or exporters, and also other agencies. Why I put importers and importers to be in the same box here, basically because depending on the Incoterms, if you do the international trade, then basically these two parties will be heavily involved and engaged to make sure whatever product they are shipped out or shipped in into Indonesia will meet the local regulations requirements in the respective countries. Of course, in this context, because we are talking about import, then that will be depends on what kind of permit required by Indonesian governments. And then last but not least, if other agencies, we know the Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Health, and quarantine authorities, and other kind of government agencies like BPOMs or any suppliers in Indonesia. In terms of procedure, basically, importer will need to do submissions in terms of import declarations. In local language, we call it pemberitahuan import barang, or PIB. We in the so-called like industry terms call it. And then there will be verification of documents, consists of invoice and other things, and also the COO. COO actually stand for Certificate of Origin. Is actually a document proving that a product is produced in a certain country, because a certain country probably will have economic partnership with Indonesia, so that the product will be benefiting from enjoying a certain preferential tariff, right? Compared to the same product if it is produced in other country, whereby the country do not have any economic partnership with Indonesia. And then, of course, the next step will be the payment of duty and tax. Import duty and taxes. Taxes consists of import tax itself, consists of VAT, value-added tax or PPN, and also some of the withholding tax. And then from some products, custom will need the inspection to be conducted before they grant the approval for importer to release the products. Of course, a bit kind of more technical in this aspect to explain on what sort of criteria for custom to do the inspections. But in terms of documentation required to do the clearance is basically a bill of lading or airway bill. Bill of lading is basically if a product is shipped via vessel or ocean or sea, and airway bill is actually if you import the product from overseas via airplane. And then commercial invoice basically to dictate how many value of the product, because eventually it will also determine how much duty or taxes that you need to be settled for clearing the cargo. And again, packing list to notify how many quantity actually you import Indonesia. Import declaration or custom declaration, as I said earlier, and import license or API, which actually currently is actually being replaced by business license or NIB. But I thought because this one is an international forum, then I put import license or API as kind of general term, easier to understand. If you're talking about costs involved in the clearance process, basically there will be 5 categories. First is simply come from the duties itself and taxes. This is a mandatory basing on the certain percentage imposed by the government. There is a list of tariff depending on the HS code or the quality or quantity of the product being imported. And then freight and insurance. Of course, if you import from Shanghai, from Bangkok, from Singapore, there will be a cost of transportation. In this kind of industry, we call it freight. And the local authority also asks any importer to insure the cargo. So there will be freight and insurance component cost. Warehousing fees here is more on the port storage. If you delay the clearance from the port or airport, then you will need to settle the warehouse cost of storage costs. And then custom brokerage fees. Again, this is actually the payment that you need to settle to these freight forwarding companies, because they are breaching the communications. They do the clearance on behalf of the importers. And then last but not least is demurrage and detention charges, which actually issued or imposed by any shipping companies if there is a delay in clearing the product or the cargo or containers from the port. The challenges that we see in this import clearance, we can classify at least into 2 points, operational and financial. On the operational context, of course, we know in Indonesia, there are so many changes of regulations, and it actually creates a complexity, right? And the second part is actually inconsistent HS code. HS code is actually a code of import product that you import into Indonesia. This will again determine on how much import nominal that you need to settle to the government, and delays due to documentation error. It could be documentation error and sometimes also system error. As we see, let's say if many of you or some of you are from the accounting background here, maybe you know currently the government trying to implement Cortex system, for instance. So the reliability of the system is also, I think, is not meeting the expectations. This is happening also to the custom systems. The financial challenges, we are talking about high import taxes in Indonesia, especially for those countries that do not have any FTA or preferential tariff or economic partnerships with Indonesia. And definitely these unforeseen costs like the detention and demurrage from the delays of clearing the products. The best practice for cost efficiency point is basically importer need to collaborate with experienced freight forwarders, because this freight forwarder will have the better connections with the custom office. They have better also understanding of the regulations, even though the regulation again keep on changing. Second point is ensuring accurate and complete documents. If every single document required are complete, then it will be easier and faster to do the clearance. Leveraging digital tools for compliance tracking, because at the end of the day, especially for large corporations, compliance practice in terms of clearance process is actually is part of their priority. And then advocating what you call importer for a clear regulatory guidelines. So again, this one is also related to the change of regulation in Indonesia. As we know, sometimes the change of regime of governments, the change of minister of trade, for instance, will also consequently change many regulations. Like probably in the context of education, the split of the previous ministry become 3 or 4 ministry currently will also ultimately change many of regulation in the academic context. So the conclusions that we can derive from this discussion, at least there will be 3. First, I think important need to do a better understandings in terms of clearance process, because eventually it will shape very significant factor in constructing the product cost. Second, streamlining documentation and processes can reduce delays and costs. Again, if we can have the importer to streamline the documentations, that's why in the previous slide I mentioned about importer and exporters, because both of them need to collaborate very closely to make sure that documentations for the product being shipped into Indonesia can be done very streamlined to reduce the delays, which actually the more delays, the more cost that importer will need to bear with. Last but not least, again, is collaboration with experts, enhance compliance and efficiency, because I know important in Indonesia, even large corporations, most of the companies, they will basically outsource the import declaration process to freight forwarding companies, because the limitations of knowledge that they have and also resource. Most of company will focus more on their core activity rather than doing something that probably beyond their capacity to focus on more in that sense. Yeah, I think that's the end of my slide. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Bapak Haryanto. That is very clear things about that the clearance, yeah, about the customs, so about the karantina. So a lot of in bahasa, banyak sekali orang yang di bandara yang mengecek bukan saja dari bea cukai. Di sini kami lihat ada karantina dan lain sebagainya. Oke, any questions untuk ya, ibu-ibu? Bulia, maybe?
Enough, Pak, enough.
how to be importer, yeah. Importer. This is we have to know, yeah. So many things to do, yeah. Ya, sekali kita harus lakukan ini. Karena Oke.
Oke,
Boleh saya tanya dikit, Pak?
Oke, that is
Oh, okay.
Honey, that's good.
Tapi ini mungkin the stupid question ya.
And
It's
there is
not.
no stupid question,
I
buat
don't
Understand that you make a question that means
Talks about
you pay
export
attention
import
of that.
activity.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
I think the value chain of export import activity contains the risks and cost. So how we maintain the activity uh, supaya apa seimbang seimbang dengan benefit yang kita dapatkan. Apalagi itu sekarang ada ini ya pajak ya, pajak yang apa namanya mengelilingi barang yang uh, pergerakan ekspor impor itu. Thank you.
Um, sorry, Bu Dr. Hani, I'm not really clear in the first part of your questions. Can you repeat, please?
Oh, okay. I think in the value chain of export import activity contain the risks and costs and how we maintain as exporter to apa keseimbangan ya. Uh,
Okay.
keseimbangan untuk bisa mendapatkan to get the benefit more
Yeah.
about that. Karena sebagai seorang eksportir kan kita juga nggak mau rugi ya atau importir. Oke,
Yeah, thank
sorry,
you.
this is the stupid question for me
No, it's not.
because I don't
Regulation.
I don't know about this much.
Thank you, Bu Hani. Basically, it's very good questions. I think this one is very practical question also for everyone to understand. Of course, there will be, I cannot say only a couple of factors. There will be many factors basically that will influence on whether the decision of exporting or importing in this case, I would say, product is actually more beneficial for us as compared to the risks and costs. So I think it will depends on what kind of product that you're going to import or you plan to import into Indonesia and what sort of the margin level that you expect. If let's say you import only a very generic product whereby it's actually already very heavily available in the market, and I don't think it will be wise enough for us to decide if we want to import that product from overseas, because again, the complexity of clearing the product will be very much, creating a headache for us, right? Given the fact that so many regulation changes in the country. So again, maybe in terms of limited times, if I may share with you, Ibu Dr. Hani, is basically if you see that the margin level of importing a product is significant enough to cover all those unforeseen costs that may associate with the import clearance or even export activity, then please go ahead with that kind of decision. Otherwise, then maybe you need to consider a bit kind of further for before taking that kind of options. That's my suggestion in terms of practical standpoint, Ibu. Thank you. I
Okay.
hope this
Okay, thank you for the
Okay.
insight, Prof.
Honey, it is
Haryanto.
clear enough, right?
Clear.
Okay, maybe you've got idea to be imported or export something like that. Yeah. Okay, Pak Haryanto. Okay, maybe another. Okay, we have a limit time, I think. Okay. If there is no questions, okay, we're gonna move to another presenters. Thank you, Pak Candidate Prof. Pak Haryanto. Yeah, for the very nice title and very nice presentation. Thank you, Pak.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Pak.
Okay. Now we're gonna move to who is gonna here? Honey. Mana is Pak Eko? Mana is not Pak Eko ya? I have another thing. Mhm. Say.
I think it should be Prof.
Should be Prof. This is
Aryadi, based on the schedule.
Rianto Pak Gede Aryadi Eskom MBA. Oke. Widita, iya. Is from Universitas Kristen Satya Wacana. Ya. Oke,
Dia teman
Pak
saya,
Daftar
Prof.
Gede.
Tapi kok nggak kelihatan dari tadi.
Iya. Gimana nih rekannya?
Iya.
Teman-teman nih Pak Gede. Oke. eh Pak Gede apa mendengarkan kita atau ada hadir Pak Gede? Oke. Um, Babi, we gonna go to Pak Dr. Nur, Ibu Dr. Nurhati, Dara Bekti. Is here?
Mohon
Sorry,
izin.
Prof. Jumadan. Based
Ya.
on schedule. It should be Pak Dr. Gede Aryadi. I think it's a team presentations along with Pak Antonius and also Pak Ari Pramono. The next should be Pak.
Nobody over there.
Nobody ya.
Nobody over
Three of
there.
them not there.
And Ibu Dr. Dian. Next,
Dr. Dian Isti,
Dian
Universitas of Lampung ya.
Yes, and Ibu
Ya.
Lila Pangestu.
Ya.
That's the
Ibu
last.
Dr. Dian, are you ready? Kita Dr. Dian. History, okay. Terus, oh, Laila Pangestu is one.
Ya, Ibu
Ya.
Lila.
Lila Pangestu. Where is Lila? Okay. Okay, Bu Lila maybe. Okay, welcome Bu Lila. Okay, the floor is yours now. Please.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, honorable guests and respected educators. Good morning.
Good afternoon. Okay,
Good
morning.
afternoon. Yeah.
Semangat,
Today,
semangat.
we gathered here to discuss a highly relevant topic in the field of education, grounding Paulo Freire's philosophy, implication of the banking model for critical learning in science learning in the digital era. That with the development of digital technology, traditional approach to science education are increasingly being challenged by the demand for 21st century skills, including critical thinking, collaboration, and problem solving. For this, we will discuss about how the concept of the banking model proposed by Freire can be applied and transformed in science learning in the digital era support critical education. By using this critical education approach, it's expected that students can better understand and apply scientific concepts reflectively and have the ability to evaluate and criticize the information they receive from various digital resources. This is from literature review about the concept of banking model in education proposed by Paulo Freire. The concept of banking model proposed by Paulo Freire, this is about the learning approach where the teacher is the provider of information and students are passive recipients. First state that this method inhibits critical thinking and only forms obedient learners without the ability to examine or question in the information received. critical education as an alternative to the banking model. I think critical pedagogy not only aims to improve students' knowledge and skills, but also how to transform a society towards a more just and human orders. The implications of critical education in science learning. I think critical education has significant relevance in science learning, especially in the context of the digital era. With the development of information technology, educators and students have access to various sources of information that can enrich the learning process. This approach allows them to understand science as a part of everyday life that is influenced by digital developments and globalization. Application of digital technology in critical education. That digital technology enables more interactive learning and allows students to be actively involved in the search of knowledge. The technology can be used to facilitate a project-based learning or inquiry-based learning, which is accordance with the principle of critical education. The collaboration between digital technology and critical education allows students to become producers of knowledge rather than simply customers, which is in the line with the goals of FREIR's critical education. In the digital era, many technologies tools support the application of critical education in science, such as computer-based science simulation, discussion platform, VR or virtual reality, virtual lab device that allow for the exploration of scientific phenomena. I think these technologies can help facilitate a collaborative and critical learning where students can work together to solve real problems, conduct research, and actively test their ideas. The development of critical education in Indonesia in digital science learning. Many research by Haryanto, the implementation of critical education in Indonesia still faces several challenges,